Hey everybody, my name is John DePietro, and you know what? I'm an old man. In fact, I'm so old that I remember almost 40 years ago when the Centrum in Worcester, or Worcester Centrum Center, now the DCU Center, opened. It opened in September, and Frank Sinatra was there. And you know what? 40 years of memories at that great building, and so many stories are being told, some in school and some out of school, about what all the great shows that people had an opportunity to see during that time period. And we're coming up on the 40th anniversary in September of 2022. But there is no better time to plan for the future than the present. And what I have done is put together a list of notary people, notable people, not notary publics, but notary people that have had a long-standing career at the Centrum. And today, the person that I'm talking to, and he's going to be talking to us several more times during this anniversary period, is Rich Krezwick. And Rich, I want to welcome you to, let's title the show right now, 40 Years of Fun.
There you go. That works for me.
Okay.
Works for me. I was there for the best 10 years.
The best 10 years. Okay. We were younger, and I don't want to say foolish, but we were aggressive, ambitious, and worked with some of the biggest names in show business in the entire world, not just like in New England. But talk a little bit about 30-second elevator pitch about your career at the Centrum, and then we'll talk about what we're going to talk about.
Oh my God, I could never put it into 30 seconds. It was the best 10 years of my career. I had a ball. I was impressionable. I absorbed it all. And it was simple. The business was simple. You put tickets on Ticketron, you sold the tickets, people showed up, you had a ball. We did 62 concerts one year at the Centrum. No building has ever done 62 concerts in the 90s and beyond. And the people who passed through, Frank Sinatra was our house band, playing softball with Neil Diamond, going water skiing out on Lake Lashaway with Bob Seger. Crazy stuff, because it was just simple.
Yeah, stuff that you couldn't do today because of security reasons and ego reasons and all that other stuff. I mean, you had a story before about Billy Joel being there for 2 or 3 weeks before he was starting a tour. And then you talked to him 20 years later, and he remembered Legal Seafoods across the street.
Yep. Loved the chowder at Legal Seafoods. Yep. Alexa was a baby. Christy Brinkley was there for 2 weeks in Worcester. He came up to the offices and talked to people. And yeah, I ran into him 20 years later, and he and Christy were, oh, we remember. Absolutely. That was so much fun. Yeah. Talking about Worcester. No more Little Town Blues.
That's right. And that was the headline. In fact, I still have that newspaper somewhere. When the headline of the Telegram that day, or the next day, no more Little Town Blues.
Great picture.
That spotlight.
Yep. There were 2 headlines, John. 2 that I remember from the 80s. No more Little Town Blues, which people of our generation still remember that, 40 years later. The other one was Jordan Levy's famous line about the Grateful Dead. And I don't remember the headline exactly, but it was something to the effect, the dead are not welcomed in Worcester.
Oh, because of the population that they brought with them.
Yeah.
Right?
But the way the headline read, it was like, we are no longer burying people in Worcester. We're going to bury them somewhere else.
Yeah. And Jordan is probably going to be one of the people that we talk about in this series.
Oh, we have to.
And let's go right now. Let's just say, who should we talk to? Can we talk to Tony Tavares? Do you have his contact info?
Yeah. I've seen Tony recently. He would love to. Best 10 years of his career too, I'm sure.
Yeah. And the funny story about Tony Tavares is him throwing that phone at Pete Consiglio, who was the chairman of the Civic Center Commission. And telling him that I'm running the show and you're not running the show.
Yeah. Craig Snyder, Ed Snyder, longtime owner of the Flyers. He owned the Flyers for 50 years before he passed. But his son, Craig, worked with us, as you recall, for a year or two as marketing director, met his wife there. And Craig, great guy. He would absolutely speak to the fact of how it all started. Well, there was a guy named Bernie Waterman, who was friends, a Worcester guy who was friends with Ed Snyder. Bernie calls Ed Snyder and says, look, they're building this building in Worcester. They're going to screw it up, unless you guys are involved. And that's how private management started.
Yeah.
Now there are these huge monster companies around the world. But it started with one call from Bernie Waterman to Ed Snyder, and Jim Owen, the longtime Centrum guru, was already there when I showed up 2 weeks after opening. And 40 years later, I still consider Jim one of my dear friends. So many, 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 many stories.
Yeah, yeah. And the backstage stories, again, the ones that never made the headlines of the Telegram or AAF or any of the other radio stations in town are the great ones. So we're going to ask people right now if they have a Centrum story, or let's make it a little bit easier. Tell us the names of some of the major acts that you saw at the Centrum. You can write it right down here underneath as a comment on this, and we will take a look at those. And then as we start this series or continue this series, which will go throughout 2022, right? You got the right year? Yeah. Because it seems like 1982 was, doesn't it, Rich? It seems like yesterday, but it seems like light years ago away.
Yeah. I'm going to amend that just a little bit, John, because it wasn't just music, as you recall.
Right.
It was Marvin Hagler. It was Sugar Ray
Leonard. That's right.
There were all kinds of sports artists who went through there too. There were franchises that went through there. The New England Blazers. We had a celebrity game with Bob Lobel. I had never picked up a lacrosse stick in my life, and here I am organizing this celebrity game.
Bob Lobel. I've still been in contact with him.
Yeah.
Then we
saw him recently.
That Bruin-Montreal game that the ice was not frozen at the stop of the game, right?
Yeah. The Freon tubes were corroded.
Right.
So the Freon ate through the concrete, and it was like a cartoon. You saw this Freon shot coming out of the face-off circle, 3 feet in the air. There's just coming out. I'm like, oh my God. So stopped the game. We fixed it. 10 minutes later, on the other side of the ice, coming up. Game was canceled. I forgot about that one.
Yeah. There's some crazy stuff. So we're going to ask our audience, people that are watching this on social media all over the place, especially those that don't live in Worcester anymore, but have great memories of Worcester. Tell us what your favorite act was that you saw. And we will attempt to talk to some of those people that are still around that can give us the backstory of that.
This is going to be fun.
Tell us what you're doing right now, because I see your life is on your wall. I see the Billy Joel poster. I see a broken record. But tell us what you're doing now so people can know where Rich Krezwick is.
Well, it's been more than 40 years in the business. I started when I was in college as a security guard at the old Spectrum in Philadelphia. As I say, I got tired of sneaking into Flyers games. So I finally got a job there and got paid to go to Flyers games, which brought me to the Centrum, which brought me to WXLO in Worcester for 4 years, which brought me to, I don't know what it's called today, but I actually helped Bob Harding start the concert facility.
Yeah, it's called Meadowbrook Farm, I think.
Yeah, we called it Meadowbrook back then. My brother did the first logo for it. He was a graphic artist. He did the first logo. And I parked the cars, huffed the dust, hustled the hot dogs, sold the tickets, did the marketing. And now it's this thriving, well-ranked, actually. It was a top 10 facility. I did that for a while. Then, of course, I went to the Garden with the Bruins in the Garden for 10 years. Another great 10 years of my career with great stories. And then I went to the Devils and Prudential Center for 5 years.
Did you open that building?
Opened that building, and I was overseeing the business operations of the Devils also at the time. Went overseas with AEG for 5 years and oversaw business operations in Europe. We had Moscow and Rome and Stockholm and Paris and London. Great cities. Traveled Europe for 5 years. Amazing. So today, I just in September wrapped it all up, and from a full-time basis, I work for myself now. I left AEG and said goodbye to my full-time career. I'm doing consulting now. Fun projects. Starting a hockey team in the Middle East. A KHL hockey team in the Middle East. So fun projects like that I get to work on my own time, on my own schedule, from my Florida home. So no more snow for me. I'm done with the 150 inches of Worcester snow per season.
Well, you know what? Just 2 days ago, JetBlue started going from Worcester to Fort Lauderdale. So, in fact, you know what, Rich?
There you go.
For the next couple of weeks, they have a $31 fare. You can fly from Worcester to Fort Lauderdale for $31 one way.
I'll come up for lunch for $31. You're buying, but I'll come up for lunch.
You know what? And lunch would cost more than that.
Exactly.
So, anyway, Rich Krezwick is the person who will be joining us during this series. And we're looking forward to hearing what you have to say about 40 years at the Centrum. Stay with us, everybody, and be sure, put your notes right down below. Thanks so much.